welcome back to another episode on my channel. My name is Celeste and I am your host and certified life coach. Today I wanted to share something a little bit more personal, and that is how my journey with a chronic illness has shaped not only my coaching philosophy and approach, but who I am as a person. I am not a health vlogger and I don't intend on this channel becoming about health journeys or health vlogging specifically. My reason for wanting to share this journey is more in line with how I view us growing and changing and addressing challenges in our lives. Years ago, and I can't remember who it was that said this, but I heard someone say that as people, we are a collection of the people we meet in our lives and the experiences that we have. Every time we meet someone new or have a new experience, that builds a little bit onto who we are as a person. And this is an idea I've played with for a long time. And the way I like to think of it is that we are a quilt. I like to think that when we're born, we start with a fairly clean slate. We have a few little patches that fit together neatly, so perhaps squares and rectangles. They all have slightly different designs on them, but they all fit together in who we are as a person. As we move through life, we tend to make decisions based on our values. And oftentimes the squares and patches that we add along the way are going to stick with sort of a bit of a theme. But sometimes in life, a patch is added that we didn't ask for. Perhaps a chronic illness diagnosis. This patch is suddenly an octagon or an oval and is an obnoxious lime green color that does not fit with the quilt our life has built up until this point. This new patch leaves us with some challenges. We have to learn to fill in the gaps around it. If it's a different shape and doesn't fit in with our existing shapes on our quilt, there will be gaps that we need to fill. Perhaps the pattern or color on it is so different from what we're used to or so different from the rest of our quilt. We need to find a way to help it blend in a little bit more. Long story short, the entire quilt is not ruined because of one unwanted different patch that has now appeared. This idea is how I've chosen to view my chronic illness and how it has shaped who I am as a person and my coaching philosophy. So I don't want to go into too much detail about my chronic health condition itself, but I do want to provide just a little bit of context and backstory in terms of my symptoms and diagnosis. So essentially, Polycythemia Vera or Polycythemia rubra vera, which is what I have specifically, is a condition that causes your bone marrow to overproduce blood cells. It's a very rare form of slow-growing blood cancer, and its exact cause is unknown, but it is caused by a gene mutation known as the JAK2 mutation, which I have. What exactly causes this gene mutation is still a little bit of a mystery in the medical community. So Polycythemia vera, or PV, generally will increase your red blood cells, but it can also increase your platelet and white cell count as well, which does happen in my case. This increased number of blood cells trying to move through your body causes your blood to become thick and sluggish. This increases your chance of having strokes, heart attacks, or blood clots. The symptoms of Polycythemia vera do differ from patient to patient, and I certainly can't speak on anyone else's behalf in terms of what they may experience in their lives. Common symptoms do, however, include headaches, fatigue, and itchy skin. These may not sound too bad, but imagine when this is your life every single day. I had misdiagnosed migraines from as early as 2003. I only received my PV diagnosis in 2016. From my personal experience, the fatigue is one of the hardest things to explain to people, where you can be absolutely fine and the next minute you just need to lie down and sleep. There is no time to debate it. I can remember having times where I felt so exhausted, I would lie down and sleep anywhere that I could. I would fall asleep at a restaurant table given the chance. I can't explain it, where you suddenly are just so overtaken by fatigue. It's out of your control at that point. For me personally, the headaches are the worst part of PV, and this might not be the case for everyone, but for me, These came in the form of skull-splitting migraines, and I am incredibly fortunate now to be with a doctor that has my condition fairly well managed, that these migraines are only every couple of months now, but I was at a point where this was every day of my life, and these migraines started in 2003, and I received my formal diagnosis in 2016, but in that time in between, these migraines were never given a root cause, so were only ever treated symptomatically. And for anyone who has ever had a migraine, I don't think there's really anything else I've been able to compare it to in my life. That skull-splitting pain, the sweats, the shakes, the nausea, the vomiting, it is... I would not wish it on my worst enemy is, I think, one way to put it. I have had times where I've ended up lying on bathroom floors just for the relief of the cold tiles, and just because the nausea and vomiting is so bad, I can't even lie down in a bed for long enough to justify staying there. How I was eventually diagnosed was I was off sick from work one day, and I phoned my mom and I told her, I think I'm dying. And I honestly felt like it at that point, because I had convinced myself that I must have a brain tumor or something that is being missed, because up until that point, not a single doctor had suggested doing any further testing. I was just told, you have migraines, and it was left at that. I then went and saw my family GP, who had been our doctor for years, and I walked into his office and I could see that he believed me that something was wrong. And for the first time, I felt seen and heard with my concerns. And we sat and we worked through all of my symptoms, and he ordered a bunch of tests, and that started the process that got me referred in to see specialists and ultimately get my diagnosis. I am very fortunate now that I am with a doctor who is amazing. I love my specialist. I, in fact, travel every 3 to 4 months to see him because I don't want to change my doctor. I am so happy with the care I get from him, because I have a quality of life now that I didn't think was ever going to be possible. I have medication that I have to take every day for the rest of my life. There is no cure for this condition, but my condition is managed. The symptoms I do have are few and far between compared to where I was back in 2016, and I am eternally grateful to my doctor who has made this possible in my life. So while I'm incredibly grateful that my condition is managed, chronic illnesses such as PV do come with a darker side attached to them, and that is the future prognosis they hold for us. PV not only has the chance of causing clots, strokes, and heart attacks, but is also known to develop into more severe and life-threatening forms of blood cancer and leukemia. So this is why I wanted to provide a bit of context about the condition, because this is a challenge that was unavoidable in my life. This is something, when you get a chronic health diagnosis, it is a challenge you have to face head on. It is a defining challenge in your life, and when it's something that you have to manage every day for the rest of your life, it changes who you are fundamentally as a person. It changes the way you view the world, changes the way you view yourself, it changes the way you view those around you, and that's why it has really shaped my coaching philosophy and my approach to coaching and how I work with my clients. I've had to build a huge amount of resilience to deal with these constant changes in my life. And that resilience has become the cornerstone of my coaching philosophy. My goal is to help my clients develop and grow their own resilience so that they can adapt and adjust when setbacks do come in life. For those of you who are familiar with my content, you will know that resilience is something that I put a lot of emphasis on, and this is why. My personal journey and lived experience with my chronic illness has taught me the importance of resilience. Life is not about avoiding challenges and setbacks. And in the case of a chronic illness, it's a challenge and a setback that we can't avoid when it does happen to us. Life is about learning to thrive despite our challenges and setbacks. The mind-body connection is something else that PV has heightened my awareness of. I've seen firsthand how stress and emotions can impact our physical well-being, It's very apparent in my own life when I'm going through something stressful or working towards a deadline, I do see an increase in my symptoms. This is why in my coaching, I incorporate strategies to help my clients increase their understanding and awareness of the mind-body connection. This includes incorporating mindfulness practices, but also emphasizing the importance of mental well-being and our ability to succeed, thrive, and achieve our goals. As a life coach, diagnosing and treating mental health conditions are outside of my scope of practice, but understanding the importance that these conditions can play in our lives, I will never hesitate to refer a client out to a mental health care professional if it is needed. If you haven't already, please go watch my video on Simone Biles and her incredible return to the Olympics. She took a step back in order to prioritize her mental health and well-being, and she is an absolute testament to what that can do in terms of helping you achieve your goals and thriving in life. My health journey has also deepened my empathy for others' struggles, whether these are health-related or not. Living with a chronic illness, I understand what it's like to face daily challenges that others don't understand or necessarily see. There are so many chronic illnesses and challenges in life beyond illness that are invisible to the people around you. We don't always know what is going on in someone else's life just by looking at them. I firmly believe that empathy should be at the heart of all coaching relationships. I may go so far as saying that I believe that empathy should be at the core of our relationships with everyone in our lives. We should approach everyone with compassion and with the understanding that they may be fighting a unique and silent battle that we have no idea about and can't even understand for ourselves. Creating a safe and supportive environment where someone feels understood and heard is essential in promoting personal growth and development. Living with PV has also led me to seek deeper meaning in life's challenges. In other words, to find purpose in adversity. In fact, this was one of the things that led me to become a life coach. We can view challenges and obstacles as something that we simply need to overcome, or we can view them as an opportunity for growth and development in our lives. Something I touched on briefly earlier is that chronic diseases like PV require a long-term perspective and are a lifelong journey and challenge. My personal journey has really highlighted for me the importance of taking things one step at a time. If I were to look at my chronic health condition as one huge lifelong challenge, I think that that would overwhelm me very quickly. Something I do for myself and that I teach and highlight for my clients is we can't overcome every challenge in one giant flying leap. We need to break things down into small, bite-sized, manageable chunks. Whether this means taking things day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, you need to just take one step at a time. We need to adopt a long-term view when overcoming challenges and achieving our goals. Patience is golden and is going to lead to more sustainable long-term progress when trying to achieve our goals and overcoming challenges. With PV, I've had to find a balance between accepting the limitations of my illness and taking proactive steps to be able to live a full life. This expresses itself in my coaching through me encouraging my clients to learn to accept what they cannot change, but to take proactive and empowering steps to change the things that they can. I firmly believe that this balance between acceptance and action is the most effective way to overcome challenges and move forward in our lives. I think the last point I'd like to make for today's video is how my journey with chronic illness has redefined my definition of success in life. I believe that true success comes when we are able to redefine success on our own terms. Success isn't one size fits all. We need to adjust and adapt our idea and definition of success according to our core values and abilities. This requires us to be gentle and empathetic towards ourselves. It's unrealistic, for example, if you struggle with chronic fatigue, to expect yourself to spend the same amount of time studying or working on a project as someone who is not facing that same challenge as you. By integrating all of these lessons I have learned from my journey with chronic illness into my coaching practice, I hope to not only offer guidance, but also to offer an example of how we can adjust our lives to overcome challenges and thrive even in the face of challenges and adversity. I by no means consider my life to be a success right now, and there is so much I still want to achieve in my lifetime. But I know that if I continue implementing these philosophies in my life and continue on the journey that I'm on, I will be able to reach my desired success in life. Even in the face of chronic illnesses or non-illness related challenges, we are all capable of living a meaningful and fulfilled life. I think this episode might have ended up being a bit longer than my usual ones, but I hope that you've all been able to take something away from today's episode. And please, if you haven't already, do subscribe to my channel so that you never miss future content. And I think today's video would be a really good one for you to share with anyone who is facing illness or non-illness related challenges in their lives and is struggling to see the opportunity for growth and development. Until next week, remember, every challenge is an opportunity for growth and development.